So I love, while we have this theme of whole and intentional leader development, I have a feeling that there's a lot of pathways we're going to take down that. And so before we go too much further down, I want to make sure I let everyone know kind of who you are, and then hear a little bit more about how you got doing this. So you're the CEO of Wild Leaders Incorporated, creator of the Wild Toolkit, and chair of Industrial Organizational Psychology at Seattle Pacific University. Did I miss anything?
That sounds pretty good.
That's a pretty awesome set of hats right there. That's great. So tell us a little bit about what does it mean to be a whole intentional leader? How did you get doing this? What's been kind of your story? And then we'll start to dive into down some of these pathways.
I'm Brandon, I don't think you maybe didn't know this part, but I'm the son of a 3-time university president. My dad was in that role through my whole childhood, and I think it really started there because my folks were leading in a time when if something went haywire, that sounds like my dad right there, that's a word he would use, haywire. If something went amiss, things were going to show up in the local newspaper. It was a time where, and on a university campus, you can imagine how difficult it is to manage and lead faculty. And because part of my role is I am one, I understand that very well. But as a kid, I think it gave me a real motivation. I don't think I knew what was building at the time, but our dinner table was kind of like a boardroom, I think in many cases, because, or at least maybe a coaching session, even as a child, because my folks found that as soon as everyone you know works for you, it becomes a different kind of dynamic. And so it gave me a heart early on for leaders. I talk about so often that I don't really care about leadership, but I care deeply about the experience of leaders, because these are the folks who are setting the pace for how things are going to be. And so I've spent my career, as you were saying, in this world between, I'm a bit of a mutt. I'm part academic, part scientist, but then I've also been a career consultant working with, I'm old enough now to say it's where your resume gets long enough, you can't remember all the places, but a lot of, big corporations, but also nonprofits and different places that are doing service work around the world and educational institutions. And I'm just drawn right to the leaders and more specifically into applying what we know from about 40 years of research on the experience of leaders. Because there's some really good work out there that has had a profound shaping in what's happening in corporate America around this stuff. But, and so I've just been drawn into continuing to try to support the development of whole people and try to move away from piecemeal approaches and say, like, what would it mean if we looked at the real experience? One of my friends said, he said, Rob, you're about the conversations that we whisper out loud but scream out inside of us. And so I think part of my job has been to architect spaces where people could get real, but in a safe way. And so that's what it's been about. And I think I mentioned this before we started, that I feel like, I'm now, I just turned 51, and I feel like I'm catching my stride now. So it's been cool. A pretty awesome, I feel like I'm in a really good moment right now. So it started with my folks, and then I've been in this world and been able to work with some amazing places. And so, that's that whole person focus.
It almost, I'm putting on my therapist hat for a minute. It almost sounds like you're trying to give the gift of that dinner table conversation for all the people you work with.
Dude, no one has ever said that, and I think I'm going to be using that. Brandon Smith told me, that is a wonderful gift you just gave me, because I think you're right. I think that's exactly what I've been attempting to do for the last 25 years.